ahead and get started. Again, thank you all so much for coming here and prioritizing youth voice tonight. Again, I'll reintroduce myself. My name is Olivia Brady. I'm the Youth Programs Manager. This is our 7th annual Youth Back Hearing, which is a huge accomplishment. I just have some really quick thank yous. And announcements. So one, if you haven't gotten food yet, make sure you get food on the way out. We ordered Vanessa's dumplings. But I do just want to give some very quick thank yous. So first to Paul Ryan, our executive director. Paul has been in office, and we are extremely grateful for it. I also want to thank the members of the VAC, including our very own Danielle Gerard.
Better late than never, I always say.
Danielle, I want to give you a really special thanks because you are always here in person for our youth hearing, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate all the work that, I really appreciate all the work that the VAC does, a phenomenal staff, and to have so many people here. And thank you all for coming down here too. So thank you.
And then to the staff who this event would not have happened without, first, the incomparable Sarah Schreiber. Sarah did all of the work on the back end, that organized the event, made contact with her. Also Walter Medina, who is working late to make sure that this hearing is happening. Tang Lin and Ray Russell, who are members of my team, who works at catering station to get everyone fed tonight. Yana de la Cruz, who is on my team, and it's just such a joy to work with her and see the way that she has stepped into a leadership role this year. Also, thank you to Michaela, who is no longer on the youth team, but still always prioritizes our young people and getting to know them. Isabel Chandler, who helped coordinate on the InterGov side. I have so many thank yous, but there were a lot of staff who really made this happen, and I wanna thank them by name. Sarah Jane Bradley and Winnie Ng, they both worked with our Youth Ambassador Marketing Committee to create a curriculum for them. You'll hear their presentation. Tim Hunter and Hadel Mungia, again, worked with our press committee. Tim was also in my first ambassador cohort, and I'm so grateful to him always. Emiana Raspala, who was in charge of our policy and research committee. Abir Patwala, who again is not here tonight, but is always on the back end of things, making sure that the work happens. And then also to our incredible finance and support team, Carlos, Susan, Eric, James, Rudy, Daphne. I'm definitely missing people, but thank you for making sure that these events can happen. Next, I want to give a special thank you to our Paid Youth Alumni Committee. If you are a member of my Paid Youth Alumni Committee, please stand up. All 6 of my youth ambassadors, 5 of our prior youth ambassador cohorts, they planned this event. This is their vision. They got here early to set up. And again, I'm so grateful to know you and to learn from you guys. And as I say to you all the time, it is the great privilege of my life to be your teacher. And so without further ado, we can go ahead and get started with opening remarks. I will pass to Paul Ryan, our executive director. And then I would like to invite Councilmember Rita Joseph to come up and give remarks. And then we have another council member on Zoom, Councilmember Althea Stevens, who have some inspirational words for our young people. So take it away.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Let's get the energy level up a little bit. We'll try that again. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It's such a pleasure to have you all here. This is a packed house. This only happens for one VAC meeting a year, and that is the Youth Ambassador of VAC meeting. So give yourselves a hand for packing the house. Grown-ups should be in here. I've been in this role a little over a year and a half as executive director of the Campaign Finance Board, and the Youth Ambassador program is tied for my favorite program. I have a few, but I love the youth program. All of you who participated in past cohorts and in this year's cohort, you are the present and the future of our democracy. We treasure you. We really appreciate your willingness to spread the word among your own peers. it is invaluable to us and to the future of our democracy. So thank all of you. And I will just leave it at that. I'm so excited to get to the presentations, to hear about the work you've done this summer. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you again.
I'd love to invite Councilmember Rita Joseph to give us remarks.
Everyone. Good evening or afternoon. It's not. Good afternoon. It is such an honor to join all of you here for the 7th Annual Youth Voters Assistance Advisory Committee hearing. Ooh, that was a lot. And I would also like to shout out my council member, the sister in government, Councilmember Stevens. We share custody of all New York City children because of our committees. I'm the education chair, she's children and youth. First, I want to start by thanking New York City Campaign Finance Board for creating this important space where young people's voices are often overlooked or placed at the center of conversation on civic participation. As a forever educator and now a council member, I have always believed in the power of young people to shape our future, not someday, but right now. You are not the leaders of tomorrow, you're the leaders of today. Your perspective, your lived experiences, and your ideas are essential to building a city that works for all. We know that too often conversations about government and policy happens without those who live the longest with the outcomes of our youth. But gathering like this one changed that dynamic. Today is about you being heard about your priorities, being understood, and about ensuring that programs and policies we create reflect your needs and your dreams. Voting is one of the most powerful tools we have to create change. But civic engagement goes far beyond the ballot box. It's about showing up, speaking out, organizing, and holding leaders like myself accountable. That's why the feedback you share tonight matters. It will shape how Campaign Finance Board and all of us in public service work to make civic life more inclusive, accessible, and representative. Thank you for being here today, for using your voice and reminding us that the future of our city is bright because of your leadership. Like you, I started advocacy when I was 19 years old. I'm Haitian American, and FDA, without any scientific proof, said that Haitian Americans could not donate blood. And it was written on the Red Cross's donation card. Organized a rally when I was in high school, had over 150,000 people to cross Brooklyn Bridge. And they rescinded that decision. So I know your voice matter, your advocacy matter, representation matter at the table. And anyone who knows me, the young people who knows and come to my hearings, they know their voices are heard before any other adult. Because I work for you, and the budget that I decide and vote impacts you directly. So that work is personal, that work is lived experience, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to make sure your voices are always heard in the city. So thank you.
So next, I believe we have Councilmember Althea Stevens on the Zoom call, and she is going to give virtual remarks. Okay, well, cool. Okay, Councilmember Stevens will give remarks later during the hearing. Danielle, do you have anything you wanted to add before we get started?
Yeah, I just wanted to say in my day job, I'm a senior staff attorney at Children's Rights, and we bring lawsuits on behalf of children in state systems. We just settled a case to get intensive home and community-based mental health services for children on Medicaid throughout New York State. And I just want to say that I've testified before Councilmember Stevens on many occasions regarding Rikers Island and some of the other work we do. And so I want to say that everything that you all do from when you were little children, from when you were born, when you're little children to the grown-up children you are today is so important. As Councilmember Joseph said, everything you do, don't believe what you're reading. Everything you do is important. It's critical. And I'm just really glad that there are so many of you here. So thank you for coming.
Thanks. Or would you mind putting the PDF in full screen view? So first up, I'm going to invite our Policy and Research Committee to present on their final research. Take it away, friends.
All right, hello everyone. You're looking at the Policy and Research Committee. My name is Cash Francis. I'm from Brooklyn and I'm here with.
Hi, my name is Gulshan Achal.
Hi, my name is Sally Hines. I'm from Staten Island.
I'm Sylvan Budo from Manhattan.
I'm Yashika from Queens. I'm Tamar Lebanon from Manhattan.
All right, next slide.
Sarah's gonna move it. So make sure you tell Sarah. There.
Okay.
So this was my committee's research question. How can we help our community members understand the CFP Matching Funds Program and how can we help motivate them to participate in it? Next slide, please.
So before we present our actual information, first we need to know what the Matching Funds Program is. It's a campaign finance system ran by the New York City Campaign Finance Board, where small contributions raised by candidates are matched at an 8-to-1 ratio by our tax dollars. The purpose of our program is to amplify the voices of small donors, encourage community-based campaigns, and reduce the role of large contributions in elections. So not just anyone is eligible for this program. The requirements are in green to be able to participate. Next slide. So the methodology. Our committee conducted our research using community-based research, where every member of our 6-member team chose 2 important community members to interview about the Matching Funds Program, where we showed them educational material and then had conversations with them about it. Next slide, please.
So leading up to how we interviewed, so we all came together and discussed what type of questions we want to ask and what would help us understand the context behind public understanding of the Matching Funds Program. And then we wrote a script to limit individual bias on our interviews. Some sample questions were, have you ever donated to a campaign before? What's your perception of fairness in city elections? And do you typically vote in city elections? Next slide.
Due to the community-based research, we were able to get a fairly diverse range of interviewees. You can see we hit 4 of the 5 boroughs and 5 out of the 6 different age groups. This did slightly limit us considering we didn't get anyone in their 40s or any Bronx resident. However, we were able to encompass at least a lot of all of New York City's very diverse communities. Next slide.
During our interviews, one of the persistent themes was a need for foundational information. So, things like the 8-to-1 matching ratio in the Matching Funds Program, where the money comes from, the role of money in New York City elections, and how the program distributes said money.
Our second theme was pre-existing feelings towards elections affected opinions towards the program. And that entails how they see voting influencing their own community, what their perception of fairness is in city elections, and if they're aligned with the political climate with candidates currently.
And our last theme was motivated by a belief in the mission of the program. The sub-themes entailed if they understood what the program aimed to accomplish, if they believed that the program would be effective, and if they thought that the goals were possible. Next slide. So the first major theme was that participants seem to need foundational information, both about the mechanics of the program and the role of money in elections in general.
And on the right, you could see some quotes from our interviewees. One of them reads, "Where do they get the money from a 52-year-old in Manhattan?" And down here is, "There was nothing about them that made me think, wow, I should support that candidate coming from a 53-year-old in Queens." And this makes me think that these people didn't have enough information on the topic to be able to form a good thesis.
Yeah, and if we look at the second quote, the interviewees seem to think that the program was partisan in support of one candidate. Well, actually, the Matching Funds Program is nonpartisan to help every candidate have an equal chance of running for office. And if we look at the third quote, it's from an 83-year-old from Staten Island who said they never paid any attention to it when asked about if NYC elections were fair. And this shows that not only do participants seem to want more information about how the program works, but a big part of why the program is happening is because there seem to be inequities in New York City elections. Some people can raise a lot more money from large contributors. So if this person doesn't really understand that there could be some unfairness in local elections, they may not understand why this program is happening in the first place. Next slide, please.
So again, our second theme was pre-existing feelings towards elections affected attitudes towards the program. And at its core, what this theme entailed was how the interviewees' personal opinions of the political climate at the current time and what communities they aligned themselves with and things of that sort, and their opinions really affected how they viewed the program.
So this first quote is from a 77-year-old African-American woman from Staten Island. And when asked the question of why she votes, she gave this quote, because I believe that's our duty as an American citizen, and that's what I think we should do. And it's something that our forefathers fought very hard for us. Now, this woman naturally puts a lot of emphasis on her civic engagement, but that's because she feels so strongly about this topic. And that's because she feels that it's our duty to fight for voting.
Our second quote comes from a 69-year-old frequent voter from Queens who says, "It's very hard to get elected because you have to come from a rich background and be white." This interview, like many of our other interviewees, has the perception that NYC elections are not fair and expresses their desire for more or less traditionally privileged folks to be able to be on the candidates.
Now, more or less, even though both of these people had different pre-existing feelings about elections as a whole, they both decided to support the program because they thought it would make a difference in making elections in NYC more fair and balanced. And that's essentially what this theme is about. Next slide, please.
Our third and final theme is people being motivated by belief in the mission of the program. You can see one 51-year-old Manhattanite says, "A candidate's success still relies on their ability to get donations. So candidates who are better resourced are still going to come out ahead. In that sense, it doesn't really level the playing field." Earlier in their interview, they did admit there are some benefits to the matching funds program. However, they still are opposed to the role of money in elections as a whole, and you can see have mixed feelings about it.
So our second quote was with a 53-year-old Bengali educator in Queens, and she stated, "I would be more motivated to participate if I could clearly see how my donation is being used. Evidence of responsible spending, transparency, and results would increase my willingness to donate." I think this reflects upon the idea that a lot of people are still skeptical of how the matching funds program can enforce these rules and make sure that our candidates are spending their money correctly and not corruptly. So to get into the key takeaways and how this might be relevant for voter outreach, in terms of there being a need for foundational information, we learned that there's a scattered understanding of the matching funds program. Some people have never even heard about it before, while others seem to be very educated about the program. But it seemed to be that when we provided more information both about how the program actually worked and about why there's a need for this program in the sphere of campaign finance, people seemed a lot more motivated to participate and learn more about it.
And for our second theme, we noticed that the political climate surrounding the city overall significantly impacted our interviewees' opinions, motivations, and even their morale about voting in general. And that's something that everyone should be concerned with. Voting is naturally a right that we have, and these people felt so strongly about it, and we all should too. Next slide. You going?
Yeah. Our final takeaway is that people believe the matching funds program can help to improve a system dominated by PACs. However, many do still oppose the idea of money serving any role in politics as a whole. Next slide.
So thank you all for listening to our presentation, and a special thanks to Damiana Rizkala, who's our project coordinator.
Youth ambassadors. Also, a fun fact that I did not mention at the top of programming is that we have young people from all 5 boroughs in this room, which I feel like we need to give some snaps for, because how often does that happen? Okay, so next up we have our Marketing and Digital Communications Committee. So step on up, friends.
So hi, everyone. We are the Marketing and Digital Communications Committee. My name is Isa Hernandez, and I'm from Corona, Queens. And before we get started into our presentation, I'll just let everybody introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Milani Joseph, and I'm from Brooklyn.
My name is Sydney Erwin. I'm from Brooklyn.
I'm Johan Almondale, I'm from the Bronx.
Hi, my name is Ariel Blinks, and I'm from the Bronx.
My name is Mikael Ali, and I'm from Staten Island.
Next slide, please. So before we dive into the presentation, I'm going to be giving you guys a quick rundown into what we will be discussing. So firstly, we will be discussing our committee's topic and our goals. So why we designed our ad and what we wanted it to do. Second, some background information to set the stage and give you guys more context to better understand from a digital graphic design perspective. Three, we will be listing our resources used. As I said, a lot of digital graphic design was involved, so we will be speaking on that. Four, our analytics, the numbers behind our ads, the impressions we got, and that will be really fun to talk about. And lastly, we'll be closing off with our recommendations and feedback that we had for the administrators of our committee. Next slide, please.
So what were our committee topics and goals? Our main goals were to create acquisition ads that were focused on attracting people who hadn't previously taken the pledge and to hopefully increase the voter turnout amongst New Yorkers overall. Next slide, please.
Tactics. We use popular tactics like the usage of taglines, call to action, assets, and more to increase ad engagement. Some of the examples of CTA that we use in our ads is pledge today, pledge your vote, and sign me up. Next slide, please.
So as Yolani and Suni have already said, we created acquisition ads. And acquisition ads are advertisements that are designed to draw viewers in that aren't usually interacting with the brand. In our case, our brand is NYC Votes. And when creating these acquisition ads, we really had to focus on the aspects of an acquisition ad. And in this example, I'll be using Yolani's ad. So the first thing that we implemented was a tagline. Yolani's tagline was "What happens after you pledge?" And a tagline is an attention-grabbing phrase that is designed to not only drive action, but it also is used as a hook to draw the viewer in. The next aspect of an advertisement is supporting info. And Yolani's supporting info was, spoiler, this is where teens start to take the pledge. Supporting info provides details that support the tagline, and it also urges viewers to take the next step, which in our case was taking the pledge. The next aspect of our acquisition ads were assets, and as you can see, there is a squirrel in our NYC Votes logo. And the assets are a combination of visual and graphic elements that represent our brand, and it helps with brand recognition. And the last aspect of our acquisition ads was a call to action, or CTA. And Yolani's CTA was pledge and dip. And a call to action is a statement or a phrase that tells the viewer what they should do next. Next slide, please. And also in creating our acquisition ads, we focus on understanding our audience, which is New Yorkers. And we use bold brand colors, straightforward messaging, and assets that represent the essence of New York. And we use a tone that speaks directly to the diversity of the city. And our goal is to make sure that New Yorkers feel seen, heard, and motivated to take civic action. Next slide, please.
Making our ads accessible and essential to ensure inclusivity for all. We have to take into account that some people are visually impaired and have trouble seeing. The things that I'm able to see, some other people might not be able to. We also have to take into color contrast and fonts. They are a significant factor in legibility. For example, using light text on a light background can make it harder for words to be read. And we also have to take into brand recognitions. Brand recognitions allow people to look at our ads without having to read any words and still know it's ours. Next slide. So here's a comparison between two ads, and the only difference between them is the coloring. Where I'm standing right now, it's very hard for me to see the ad on the left. I can't even read anything that says on it. At the ad on the right, it's very clear and I could read everything that says on it. Next slide. So for our resources we actually use various resources. Our main resource was Adobe Express. And in Adobe Express, we were provided a brand folder that was actually provided to us by Sarah Jane and Winnie, thankfully. And in the brand folder, they included templates, graphics, fonts, a color palette, and more. And with these devices, we were able to efficiently and easily create our advertisements. And we were able to have our brand image of NYC Votes, so people were able to recognize our advertisements on social media apps. We also use the web aim color contrast tracker. As Johan previously mentioned, we had to make sure our advertisements were easily readable for people with vision impairments, and not even for people with vision impairments. They're easily clear and clean to be put on social media. And as a result, our advertisements look more appealing and more professional. Next slide.
So for our analytics, data from July 22nd shows that our pledge to vote ads have conversion rates of 9.80% conversion rates. So there's a lot of marketing language being shown here. I'm going to try my best to translate that into layman's terms. So a conversion rate is basically you got the consumer to do what you wanted them to do. In this case being our voters, 9.80% of voters who clicked our link actually went and did the pledge to vote. And then $8.96 cost per acquisition or a CPA was also shown in our analytics. So basically that means that it cost us $8 per ad to make an acquisition. In marketing, a lower CPA is always better because it means that you spent less money to get that ad clicked, basically. Our ads also generated up to 800,000 impressions, 9,000 links, and a 1.09% CTR, which basically means that 1% of people who saw our ad actually clicked it. And if my math is correct, that means 1 out of 100 people who saw this ad actually clicked it. Yeah, next slide, please.
So these are our analytics for our top 2 ads. The Vote with Style ad was made by me, and the Pledge to Vote It's Your Voice made by Suni right here. Our Vote with Style ad had 449 conversions and a low CPA of $6.13. Our conversion rate is really low. Usually the average for a regular big company ad is around $50 to $60. And so for ours to be this low is really good.
The Your Voice ad had 309 conversions and a CPA of $6.30. Next slide.
So for our recommendations for like the future, we didn't really have many recommendations as stated. Sarah Jane and Vinny actually made our process super easy, but our main focus was language, and our campaigns that we released of our advertisements specifically were not translated to other languages. And majority of the time, New York City Votes and their voting material is translated to 13 languages. You have to keep in fact that New York City has over 200 languages spoken in. So our main focus was that our advertisements could have reached a bigger audience if they had been translated to other languages as well. And when we're saying language and translating, we're not trying to only focus on this translating material. It obliges the viewer who's seeing the advertisement to actually click on it and makes them more connected to the brand. So even in the future, when that person sees the New York City Votes ad, they'll feel more connected to the brand and want to click on that. Next slide.
And to close out, we would like to just give a special thanks to Sarah Jane Bradley, Winnie Ing, Olivia Bradley, and Yana de la Cruz for guiding us throughout this process. Thank you.
Bob, you can take a seat. And last but certainly not least, we would like to invite our press committee up.
Hi, my name is Solomon Purdy and I'm from Brooklyn.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Nunez. I'm from the Bronx. Hi, my name is Najira and I'm also from the Bronx. My name is Rihanna Singh and I'm from Queens.
And we are the press committee. This year, we worked on creating op-eds around voting issues that we are very passionate about, including campaign finance and permanent resident voting, divisive rhetoric, and harmful social media use. I would now like to pass it to my group member, Rihanna, to talk about what is an op-ed. Next slide.
So what is an op-ed? An op-ed is a section of newspaper that tends to be opposite the editorial page, hence the name op-ed, and usually features opinion essays from people outside the regular newspaper and outside the regular editors. And they range from topic, but they usually argue a point and make the reader consider a specific course of action in 800 words or less. So I'll pass it on to Nadira for our goals. As future voters, we've been concerned about our country's technological progressions as well as lack of progressions in some cases. We highlight these concerns in our opinion pieces that we plan on getting published by local newspapers. As we believe change starts locally, we plan on educating our communities on civic engagement to start facilitating change in New York City. We're here with you today to give you the facts on some of the important issues that are present in our politics today and why they matter. And I'm going to pass it on to Solomon, who's going to tell you a little about his op-ed on social media and politics. Next slide, please.
So I would like to begin by asking, how many people in this room, you can raise your hand, know who their US representative is?
You mean House Rep, right?
Yes. How many people in this room have ever donated money to their US House Rep?
Interesting.
Only 2 people. So my op-ed is titled "For the PACs or for the People," where I talk about campaign finance and how it influences voter turnout. So I'd like to explain what is a PAC. A PAC is a political action committee, which is formed on the basis of raising money and pushing money out to candidates who align by their causes. A PAC can be comprised behind a corporation, a law firm, or an ideology. So why is this a problem? This is a problem because based on this chart, in the 2023 to 2024 cycle for Congress re-election, politicians took hundreds of millions of dollars from PACs, which is making an over-reliance on corporate funding and ideology funding rather than their constituents. Based on this quote from my op-ed, younger NYC voters are not being able to go out and vote for politicians that they recognize, because years ago when politicians were actually campaigning, young voters weren't around. Since 2014, NYC voters aged 18 to 29 have had the lowest turnout compared to all other age groups. Their average turnout of registered voters for the last 10 primary cycles was 7.66%, as opposed to the largest turnout group, 60 to 69, who had an average turnout of 19.93%. This is just showing that the lack of campaigning it's like making older voters go out because they recognize these names, but younger voters just don't know who these people are and they don't want to register to vote. They don't want to make their voices heard. So my call to action is to make sure that politicians can actually start the grassroots initiative and start using social media to reach young voices and reach young voters and make sure they are heard. Next slide. I'd like to pass it to Ibel, who will talk about social media a little more.
Hi. So my op-ed titled "Red Flags: The Dangers of Misinformation Within Younger Voters" touches on how social media has been misinforming young teens. I have a younger brother. He is 13. He watched a lot of TikToks, videos that like mindlessly scrolling, never seeing or understanding what he's actually seeing. Something like my main reason for writing this op-ed was to bring up light to the red pill content that is being spread outside. And like when you hear red pill content, you might think like Andrew Tate or like, oh, big like strong man. But you might realize that a lot of these like red pill content are talking about like politics, voting. The video my brother saw was calling for men to not let their like wives vote because like it was supposed to count for their vote. So my op-ed chooses to like bring light to how this is so unfair and how like we need to pay attention to what we see online. Not everything you see is real. We get our news from social media platforms so much. Like right now, so many of us like raise your hand in this room if you get your news from social media or your phone. Do you watch the news at all?
I watch the news not personally.
Well, yeah, think about it. What makes you think that since you use social media so much, what makes you think that you're not gonna like fall to misinformation? What makes you think you're not gonna fall hateful bias based on something you saw online? So my op-ed calls to action to make sure that you know what digital citizenship is, and you know how to use social media correctly. And I would like to pass it to you.
Next slide. So the title of my op-ed is "Voices Divided: The Public Struggle with Political Rhetoric." And it's basically centered around inhumane language in political debate amongst politicians and how that's now infiltrating our social system. In my first graph, we see some of the rhetoric that partisans use, including closed-minded, dishonest, immoral, unintelligent, and lazy. And this language has opened my eyes to how inhumane and how closed-minded the political spectrum has become now. My personal connection to my op-ed was sitting in my AP seminar classroom, listening to my classmate give a presentation about illegal immigrants, as he referred to them. And this type of language being used by my friend and my own classmate really opened my eyes to how ignorance is bliss and how ignorant the language in the political spectrum has become and how accepted it's become. And so My goal with this op-ed was to shed light on the normalization, the effects of this language. In my two graphs surrounding the middle graph, we can see that heated rhetoric by politicians is now increasing the risk of violence. And not only that, but it's now infiltrating our social system, infiltrating who we interact with, how we interact with people, and just the type of overall language, and is promoting a violent space when incorporating ourselves in political debate. My call to action with my op-ed was to just be mindful of the language that we're using and the language that we are copying from our politicians. I believe that in order to run a successful democracy and our nation to be successful, we have to have an open-minded space where both political parties can incorporate the language that they find necessary but is not harmful. With that, I'll pass it on to Cynthia. Next slide. My op-ed's name is Democracy for All, Why Permanent Residents Deserve the Right to Vote. This is an issue that has been persistent in voting for some time now. Permanent residents are valuable members of our community who are condemned for taking the same course of action as everyone's predecessors in this country. This quote from Politico states, in 5 city council districts, non-US citizens make up a third of the adult population. These New Yorkers pay billions in taxes and yet have no say in local policies, public safety, garbage collection, or housing, all matters that affect their day-to-day lives. With the number of permanent residents in NYC, it's possible to change numerous policies, even elections, if they are represented in our legislation. This is significant because our current policies continues not to serve a substantial amount of the population. For example, permanent residents do not qualify for SNAP, SSI, TANF, AFDC, and Medicaid despite their contributions and taxes to help fund these programs. Which brings us to the question, why are we allowing such a substantial amount of our population to be disenfranchised? Through writing my op-ed, I learned that change starts locally, and in NYC, as a sanctuary state that values protecting its permanent residents, it should also make an effort to allow these permanent residents to speak for themselves. Within my op-ed, I discussed all of this, including the work that's already been done to rectify this issue, why it's important to extend voting rights to permanent residents so they can be self-evident. Next slide. Thank you so much. I would like to make a special thanks to our advisors. So Jana de la Cruz, Tim Hunter, Hadel Mungia, and Olivia Rady. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, that concludes the presentation portion of the evening. Please allow me to pull up my speaker list. Forgive me. We are going to transition to spoken testimony. So first up, we have Ariana Ahmed Nisha. You can come on up.
Hello, everyone. This is Ariana Ahmed Nisha, and I'm a rising sophomore. And obviously, I'm a student in New York City. So I usually always love to work for my community, and I love to help people. And I think like a lot of students like me, I see like there are like so many students in here who loves to work for the community and who are interested to work for the community. But unfortunately, we are not so much given enough importance by the government or by a lot of representatives not because we're not smart enough. It's because like there's a title which is called a perfect age, or we are not old enough because we are not 18. Although like according to the National Institution of Health, there isn't much, not actually much, there is no psychological differences between a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. And for this reason, even though we are having enough maturity, we can do so many things. Even after that, we do not have the floor to like take important decisions like votings. Also for that reason, as we are told that we are not old enough, for this reason, we cannot include ourselves in a lot of important works where we are supposed to be. Because we have the level of maturity to be part of all those things. But even after that, we have to wait. And all it works is like our enthusiasm. It like vanishes when we turn 18, because when we are enthusiastic, we cannot work according to how we are gonna work. So like these, our enthusiasms are vanishing, like going with the air, but nothing is working like this. So this kind of thing is happening actually. So I would like to request like this kind of thing happens and like do not happen anymore, because this is how they're losing they're literally stopping the voices of the future and losing the enthusiasm of the future generation. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, next up, I would like to invite Joseph Morales up. Joey was also a alumni of our 2022 Youth Ambassador Program.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Because I've never spoken, I've been to a lot of public hearings, but never spoken to the room, so this is really cool. First of all, I'd like to say, I do go to a lot of public hearings, different agencies. This is definitely my favorite one. I've never been in front of a more enthusiastic, happy to be there crowd. So, really can't, and you guys are all very enthusiastic about civics and haven't really found that outside of these environments, so many youth with that same passion. So really happy to be here today to talk to you guys. I want to start by saying I do want to speak a bit about ways the Campaign Finance Board can work to increase youth voter turnout. I've done a lot of youth outreach myself. I was, like Olivia mentioned, I was a youth ambassador in 2022, and I spent a year as the grassroots lead for the youth committee at Transportation Alternatives. Some of you might have heard of them. I was one of the inaugural members of that committee. So I've done a lot of outreach citywide. And one thing I feel like the NYC Votes could do is provide more online resources to youth to help them make educated voter decisions. Educated voter decisions. This is something the first group of ambassadors presenting kind of talked about when they talked about the match funds program and the need for basic level information. And I feel like this type of information can include info available on the website, of course, on what union endorsements mean and don't mean, along with how different unions choose which candidates to endorse. We always see, particularly for mayor, a blitz of unions endorsing candidates. And I know for multiple frontrunners this year, I've heard of cases where unions have endorsed someone and then union members, the actual workers say, we don't really support that person. So I feel like I'm just making some okay, this is a fictional example, may or may not reflect reality. Let's just say Andrew Cuomo got an endorsement from the Transport Workers Union. That might not actually mean that the transport workers support him. So helping people to understand what those things mean and don't mean. I also feel like candidates should be provided. If you've ever been to votesmart.org before and tried to look up a national candidate, you might see that they had answered a bunch of questions and it kind of tells you their views on important issues. I feel like NYC Votes should set something up like that for city candidates. It's really helpful, especially when, you have, and I experienced this voting in the 2024 general elections during my first semester in college. When you see candidates' issues and you know exactly what they are without having to do a web quest, it's very helpful to feel more confident in the decision you're making when you actually go to vote. I also feel like we should work to increase voter outreach registration drives in schools. I feel like, and as youth ambassadors, I feel like we did a lot of great things. We didn't really tap into this area as much as we could have. I feel like one of the best ways to get youth registered to vote is to work directly with the Board of Elections to send relevant forms to schools to be handed directly to students. This, along with the guides, teachers, discuss the importance of voting, can go a long way toward helping youth register to vote when faced directly with the decision. It's not like a tabling center, somebody could choose to pass or not pass. You're faced with the form and can make that decision. I'm getting toward the end. Am I going?
You're good, Joey.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Another tactic that I feel like could work, we should recruit the ambassador program. I know you guys and my cohort, we did a lot to connect with youth and people in all kinds of ways. I feel like NYC Votes could take it a step further and try to recruit youth with the sole job of conducting voter registration outreach in popular destinations across the 5 boroughs. Example, Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. I got a lot of petition signatures there. And I was able to connect with people from around the borough that way, which is another. And this should include youth picked directly by the ambassadors. And youth, and one thing I found is youth engaged the most when you could connect to the person talking to them. When, sorry, I'm stumbling in my words because I have a lot of proposals here. Youth connect the most when they can connect to the person talking with them. When I was a grassroots lead, what I would try to do, and this is what a strategy I recommend these youth try, is I would go to different places and I would actually have conversations with people, just kind of try to become friends. And there's people I still have the Insta handle with that I got their petition signature over a year ago. So and we've talked about things that have nothing to do with reducing the cost of city bike for students. So it just comes that the interpersonal side can come a long way. And with that being said, I thank you all for listening. That was very policy heavy. And thank you, Olivia and CFB, for taking into consideration.
I have one more testifier signed up to speak. Is there anyone who is here that signed up to testify ahead of time that I didn't call on yet? Okay. Is there anyone who's interested in giving a statement? Okay. So with that said, I will pass it off to our last testifier for the night, Arun Siguro. Did I say your name correctly?
Oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I should have.
Can everyone hear me well?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. I have a script, but I won't lie to you. The script does not matter because I'll be honest, I didn't know I was speaking until yesterday. But on this script, it has a bunch of stuff that I imagine all of you wonderfully educated people already know and already have imagined. So I'm still gonna use it. So it doesn't matter that much. And I do wanna say, sitting here, it's so cool to be around people that have a similar passion as me, that have a similar wants for society as me, as in they hope for a representative place, a place where we all can get the needs that we want and get the hopes that we want to be properly represented. The sun is still out outside, even though we have no windows in here. So good afternoon. My name is Ariel Segura. And today I'm technically presenting myself as the National Secretary of an organization called We the Students. It's a non-profit student-led organization that's dedicated to upholding the principles of the United States Constitution. But I will also say I'm here today as a 15-year-old teenager from the Bronx, Dominican as well, I always add that simply cares about the future and cares that there are people that defend the future. And that starts at our local level, right? Our local elections, as Joey kind of mentioned, they decide the policies that shape the worlds that we live in, right? The roads that you drive on, the taxes, some of the taxes that you pay, the schools that you go to, they're not decided by the administration that we currently have. They're decided by our mayor, by our city council member, etc., right? In other words, we are all affected so much more by the by the local policies that we see passed, not the federal policies, right? It's very, very crucial that the perspectives of young people are properly represented in these major decisions that are made about our lives. Yet, obviously, we all know that youth frequently aren't educated about the electoral process. And the problem that comes of that is that youth then don't vote, right? So the obvious question after that is, how do you go ahead and educate and establish the necessary awareness? I personally think that this can be done in many ways. And the first thing that you need to do is enhance civic education. It's very crucial that topics surrounding local governance, that topics surrounding the legislative processes, and that topics surrounding elections are taught in schools. This is more than talking about the US government. This is more than talking about the president and the House of Representatives and Congress. This is more than showing that I'm Just a Ville music video that you all probably saw when you were younger. If you didn't, it's a great song. You definitely listen to it. It is about talking about what is near you. It's about talking about the city that you live in, the states that you live in, the governor, the mayor, the city council member. I didn't know I had a city council member until like 2 years ago. That's not necessarily a good thing for the youth to have. So when we go ahead and establish and enhance civic education and we talk about topics surrounding local governance and legislative processes, we're then able to incorporate the youth in our system, in our electoral systems. But on top of this, as Joey very frequently mentioned in his testimony, we need to ensure that there's easy access to voter information inside of schools to allow for exposure. I don't know about all of you guys, but there's a lot of things I don't know about. There's a lot of interests that I probably have that I don't necessarily know about. Like, I don't know, let's say I find a new toy when I'm in Target and I make that an obsession of mine and I start collecting those things. My exposure to that then goes ahead and gives me interest. That same dumb logic that I give with a toy, I probably don't play with toys anymore. That same dumb logic that I use with toys applies to the electoral system. If we are going ahead and exposing our students, exposing the youth like we have with this awesome program, we're then able to spark interest. And that is the first step to getting people involved. But moreover, you have the taproot issues, right? Problems like our primary system and the fact that it is closed off. In other words, people who unaffiliate themselves with either party are then not able to represent themselves in that early election. Having an open primary system, for example, adjusting registration deadlines, making it possible for people to register themselves on the same day of the election, or establishing more polling sites that are accessible to students, such as in-school voting or mobile polling sites. And most importantly, ensuring that students know when, where, and how to ensure that they are represented. As we all most definitely agree, because it's clear you guys are here, you guys are representing yourselves, representation matters. And we all definitely hope to be represented. And the youth wants the same. Not only because we'll be the leaders of tomorrow, especially you guys right here, but more importantly, because we are living on the same exact earth as our older peers. We, the students, the organization that I work with, stands to empower, educate, and organize. But it's more important that we all, together, push for a system where we can demonstrate what a proper representative democracy is. Thank you, guys.
Okay, last call for any speakers. Okay, that's okay. So what time is it now? So, I'm gonna be here for a while, so I encourage people to stay, continue to participate in the crafts, use the photo booth. Please, we have so many dumplings. Please eat more dumplings. And just enjoy yourselves. Use this time as an opportunity to connect with someone that you maybe would have never otherwise spoken to. And again, I'm just so grateful to everyone who made this event happen. And again, I'm so grateful to my students. I have so much love and respect and for you all. I'm so lucky to know you. Thank you.
Babe, I'm gonna eat more dumplings.
Yes, please go eat. There's still henna.
I said, you want to finish it? Yeah. Thanks for everything.